I want to thank everyone who's gathered here. I also understand that there is an overflow room, so thank you to everyone who's watching from there, and a live stream. So welcome and hello to everyone who is watching us online today. My name is Randi Zuckerberg. I am so thrilled and honored to be here speaking to all of you. I have a lot of information that I want to cover, and I understand that there's also, we're very excited for Q&A later today as well. So just a few things before we get started that I wanted to tell you about myself. Okay. We're coming to that later. So I actually have 2 startups. We talked about Artizy Media that I'm starting in the States, but this is my real startup right now. I have a 5-month-old son who is born on May 1st. Thank you. This is a very special trip for us because my husband is sitting in the front row. This is our first time that we're traveling away from Asher together, and he's in good hands with Grandma and Grandpa. Thank you for sharing in our first time away together. Both my husband and I have Polish heritage in us, so it's also very special to be here. Just a little bit about my background. I grew up in New York City. I attended Harvard University, and I attended around the same time as my brother. We overlapped for a few years at Harvard. I graduated. He did not. It's probably it's the one thing that I can say that I've accomplished. Afterwards, I went on to New York City back to be in advertising. I worked at Ogilvy and Mather Advertising, and I felt like I was just living the dream, this glamorous life of advertising, and Mark was starting Facebook in his dorm room. And we would chat online, and he would say, you should really come out and learn a little bit more about the company. We're doing exciting things. You should join. Translation, what he meant was, we have no money. We need someone to work for free in marketing. You're my sister. You do marketing. Please come. But I finally got on a plane, went out to California, and there was just this amazing energy. I couldn't even really put my finger on what it was, but it was all of these young people in a room who they just kind of knew they were changing the world and changing the way we were communicating. And I ended up just signing some paperwork on the spot and coming back to New York and packing my things up in just a matter of weeks. And there went my journey with Facebook. I was at the company for 6 years, where I felt like I had every job in the company. Maybe IT was the one job that I didn't have when I was there, but at a startup you wear many hats. And recently, I led the consumer marketing team for my last few years until I left just a few weeks ago. However, I say that I left the company, but I really still consider myself a tremendous part of the Facebook ecosystem. The new company I'm working on is built almost entirely on top of the Facebook platform, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But I also I think it's important to understand what Facebook did that made it so successful in the early days of growth. And I think that there's really, you have to look at a new kind of marketing that was pioneered there. And it was really a demand-led marketing. Now, when Mark and his classmates started Facebook at Harvard, they didn't open it up to the entire world on day one. It was open just to one college. And what they would do is they would wait until enough students at another college were begging for Facebook, and then they would open it at the next college so that they knew by the time the site opened there that they would reach the tipping point, that they would have enough mass participation to be successful in that new market. And the same went for when they opened it at the 3rd college, and the 10th, and the 100th, and then when they opened it to the military, and to high schools, and to other countries around the world. It was a strategy that worked really well for the company, and a strategy that you've seen in other tech services such as Gmail, where they make invites very limited and they make you really want to be a part of this new service. I think it's also worth looking at just the word social and what that means in business today. I love the term businesses talking because that's really been the entire growth of Facebook. Now, Facebook photos, probably one of the things that everyone in the world who uses Facebook for the photos. Facebook photos, arguably, it's not the best Facebook service on the web. You can't edit your photos. There's no red eye correction. There's a lot of things that you can't do that you can do with other photo services. But Facebook Photos is more popular as a photo service than all the other photo services combined. And why is that? I mean, why should it be that a service that doesn't give you all those features is more popular? And it's because it's social. It's because when you go out and you take a photo with your friend and you tag each other, it shows up and it's a social viewing experience. Same with gaming. Many of you have probably heard of a company called Zynga, one of the largest gaming companies on the Facebook platform. Again, their games, they don't have the most gorgeous graphics in the world. They don't have, the experience of some of the games that you're playing on the PlayStation or some of the other services, but they're social. And now Zynga is leading gaming in every category across the web. So I think that's very important as we understand the day and we talk about social media and a lot of these services, that social can trump a lot of the other things that are going on. I was doing some research with the country managers at Facebook who are working with many of you and many of your companies here. Some really great stats. I know there's the numbers ranging between 7 and 10 million people, Facebook users in Poland, number 24 in ranking of every country in the world in Facebook statistics, an incredible high engagement. I saw actually a Pew report that shows that the top nations for social media in the world, that Poland actually ranks number 2. So congratulations, you guys are very networked here. And I think you actually lead the world in Google searches. So I don't know what you're searching for, but there's a lot of searching going on. I also took a look at the most popular Facebook pages. There's so many Facebook pages with hundreds of thousands of people who like them. But what I also looked at was the most engaging Facebook pages, and you'll see that doesn't always add up to the most popular. I think that's also a point that I definitely want to reinforce as the day goes on, is that there's a lot of talk right now on eyeballs online, right? You want to get a billion Twitter followers, and you want to get a ton of people liking your Facebook page. But I think at the end of the day, don't forget that it's really about engagement of the people who are on your Facebook page too. And it's really about delighting your customers and keeping them engaged in the dialogue. So why use social media? I mean, I'm preaching to the choir a little bit here because you guys are the most networked country in the world. But obviously consumers, they want to engage with you on their turf. They are on Facebook, they're viewing the photos, they're doing everything there. It's really important for your brand to be engaging with them in a very meaningful way where they already are. They want to be part of the conversation. This was something that I had very firsthand experience with when I worked on the US election back when I was on the business development team at Facebook. We were working with a lot of the candidates going into the 2008 election, and that was really the aha moment for me when I saw that people, this was going to be a different kind of election in the world, that people wouldn't be content to just watch a debate on television or just watch a politician go on air in an interview, that they wanted to be really part of the dialogue. And I understand that that's playing out in this country as well. Another great thing, I think a lot of brands hire celebrity endorsers a lot. And congratulations, you now have millions of people who want to endorse your brand for free. You don't have to pay them anything. You don't have to do anything. They want to hit like, and they want the story to go out to all of their friends that they like your brand. So that's an incredible opportunity in business. And I've also seen a lot of kind of business crisis situations lately, which I'll get into a little more in my talk. So I can really stress to you that you want to take the time now to grow your community now before you really need them. Because when your business is having a crisis communication, that's not the time to grow your social media presence. You want them already there and already engaged. Social media obviously has a lot of opportunities and a lot of challenges. We live in a world where friend recommendations matter more than anything. It used to be the world of where you'd go onto TripAdvisor.com and look at the hotels around the world and get reviews. And now we live in a world where if you're traveling around the world, you ask your friends where to go, or you ask your friends for advice. I'm on there every day asking for parenting advice from just about anyone who will give it to me. So there's real opportunity in that, and that positive news travels very, very quickly. On the flip side, negative news also travels very quickly. If someone's complaining about your business or has a very bad experience with your brand, that's also going out to all of their hundreds or thousands of friends. So it's very important to get it right with social media. And that's today I'm going to give you kind of my top 10 David Letterman style tips for what to do on Facebook to really get it right. And I'll also touch on a few kind of challenges or mistakes that I see a lot of businesses making. I also wanted to give kind of a funny movie industry anecdote that I recently experienced. I was at a conference a few years ago, and a movie Hollywood executive came up to me and said, "Randi, we have to talk. Facebook is making it so that I cannot release bad movies, and I need to be able to do that." And I kind of looked at him and I was like, well, maybe don't make bad movies. I don't know. But that's sort of exactly what we're talking about, because, movie comes out at midnight on a Thursday night, and by Friday morning, the movie could be dead in the water if people don't like it on Facebook and Twitter, because the news travels so quickly. Likewise, the notion of the sleeper hit, the movie that no one knows about, you're seeing movies now making tons of money weeks and weeks and weeks after they're released because of the pickup through word of mouth also. This was, I was coming across in my travels, I think this was an interesting example of this playing out with a celebrity, not just a brand. I saw that James Blunt was here for a conference tour and kind of took a photo with close to Auschwitz saying, "Oh, this is my hotel," which was not a very smart thing to do. But and immediately thousands of people on his Facebook page were just up in arms about it. To his credit, he actually left the post up. I think a lot of businesses probably would have immediately taken the post down and tried to pretend it never happened. So to his credit, he was very smart in how he dealt with it and apologized to the fans and spoke to them directly. But just definitely an example of how you need to be really careful of what you post online. We live in a generation that lives in public. It's a new kind of business executive, a new kind of life that we're living. I walked into a meeting yesterday, or 2 days ago. I guess I was on a plane yesterday, and 3 of the people in the meeting I had never met before in my life, and said, "How's Asher? How was your trip to Montreal this weekend? And how's your husband?" And at first, I was a little taken aback. I was like, "Wow, these people know so much about me. Is it smart that we're living our lives in public so much?" But it also made the meeting so much warmer, and we were able to jump into our business discussions so much more quickly because we felt like we really knew one another. Just another example of kind of word of mouth marketing and how that affects our friends. Obviously, people post their very deeply personal, emotional moments online. We posted some photos years ago when we got engaged, and I recently saw that all of our friends started going back to that hotel where we got engaged for special occasions. And most recently, I even saw my own parents check in there. So people are really taking the recommendations of their friends very seriously. It's the power of the trusted referral, and really putting a lot of thought and care into what your friends are saying. So who's doing it well out there? Facebook recently announced a lot of updates to their service last week when they had the big F8 conference. Wall Street Journal created a social reader. So you can actually see what your friends are reading and what they're commenting on in real time, which is pretty exciting. You can actually let your friends curate the news for you. Likewise, Swedish music service Spotify has announced social music streaming, where you can actually see what your friends are listening to in real time. You can see who has that like Britney Spears addiction, or who's listening to Disney songs with their children. And you can really have that social music experience. This is more of a local site, but there's a site, Etsy.com, that's kind of local handmade crafts, artisan site, and they actually launched a gift finder. So if you want to know what's the perfect gift to get to a friend, it actually calls up information from their Facebook profile and shows you things that you can custom get for them. So if a friend's really into yoga, here's a pair of custom yoga pants. Or if they're really into a certain movie, here's something that you can get them for that. So I want to jump right into my top social media do's and don'ts, because I know we're limited in our time. I understand that not all of these tips will be applicable for every single person, but hopefully there'll be a few things I'll touch on today that will inspire you. The tips are going to be based around a few different things: new customer acquisition, engagement, making money, delighting your fans, customer service. There's so many uses for how to make social media work for your brand, and that's what I hope that you will take away from the day today. A few questions to really think about before you even can dive into the top 10 is definitely take a moment to think about who's running social media for your business right now. Is it one person? Is it like a very young person right out of school? Is it a team? How many times a day are you posting on social media? Do you have brand guidelines? Are you very strict about the kind of content that can post, or are you kind of letting anyone post anything? I think it's becoming more and more important to actually really think through your strategy on a lot of these topics, because your brand is represented to millions of people. Facebook just announced that there's 800 million people in the world who are using the service. So whereas a few years ago, maybe it was having someone right out of school just, posting every press release from your company, this is now an incredibly important channel for you, and a very important channel to think through everything from the time of day that you're posting to the fact that maybe you want every single post to be accompanied by an image. I also, before we dive in these are kind of my 2 Facebook 101 tips before we get into the more advanced list. You have an incredible opportunity to customize your page, so you should definitely do it. Every page on Facebook looks exactly alike when you get to the wall, so definitely take the opportunity to come up with a beautiful landing tab for your page, because this is what's going to get people in the door. You can't just assume that people are going to click like without having a taste of why they should, and if people come to a beautiful experience, they're much, much more likely to engage. So here's a few examples that you might see. McDonald's, you get to their page, you can actually play their Monopoly game right there. I'm not even going to try to pronounce this, but our Poland country manager pointed this out to me as a beautiful page that with a great landing tab. And if you don't have the time or don't want to make the investment, or while you're working on your landing tab, you can do something where you take beautiful advantage of the 5 photos that happen across the top of a Facebook page, like Nutella did with their postcards through Europe. So tip number 1, jumping right into it, people love contests and promotions. They love the opportunity to enter their name into getting something for free. And this is definitely something that we're seeing more and more businesses take advantage on Facebook. Recently, what we saw was American Airlines. They actually did a promotion where you can just type in your American Airlines frequent flyer number and actually enter to win millions of miles. They went from 2,000 likes on Facebook to 210,000 likes in 2 days. This was their Mystery Miles Journey promotion. We're seeing a lot of things like that. Similarly, in the travel industry, liking a hotel could get you a vacation. It could also get you a job. There was a resort in Los Cabos, Mexico, actually put something where if you could list your dream job and give a 1-minute video pitch of why this is your job and you should do it, you could win a job at the resort. So personally, for me, I think I would choose margarita tester. I think, it's a very difficult job and someone has to do it. But there's a lot of fun that you can have with contests and promotions on Facebook as well. Tip number 2 is I would say definitely be sure to celebrate your loyal fans. A lot of companies kind of make the mistake of just putting information about themselves out there without really recognizing the community. These people who take the time to like your business, they are giving you a personal endorsement of their identity, and it's so fun for them when you can show them a little love back. So Oreo, one of the most popular brands on Facebook, they recognize that they not only have loyal fans, but their fans are from all over the world. And every week they actually do World's Fan, where they take one of their fans, they take a photo, they say where in the world the fan is, and they make that their profile image. So this week we have someone from Quebec is featured on the Oreo page. Likewise, European brand H&M also does the same thing, where they will actually have a style contest of the week or the month, and they'll say, show us your 70s style or 80s style, and they'll actually feature a fan from around the world who really embodies that beautiful style on their page. Guilt Group, I'm not sure if this is a site that has made it to Europe yet, but is literally, people are fanatical about it in the States. This is a site that they have kind of appointment-based shopping. There's flash sales that occur at, I believe it's 9 a.m. every single morning, Eastern time. They'll have a designer that's going on for 40 or 50% off. People rush to their computer and feverishly add things to their shopping cart. And what they decided to do was they decided to give their Facebook fans kind of a 1-hour sneak preview. So you knew exactly the items that were going to be in the store that day, and you could kind of plan your shopping strategy. So at 9 a.m., you didn't waste time. You could kind of go right to the thing that you wanted. But they were rewarding their loyal fans, and they were giving them something special through Facebook that they couldn't get anywhere else. So this has just led me to thinking a lot about what the loyalty program of the future looks like. 5 years from now, how are we rewarding our loyal customers? And I think that social media is going to be a big part of what the loyalty program of the future looks like. Everyone knows that digital influencer who kind of posts anything and gets 1,000 comments. We don't know why they get 1,000 comments. They could be like, I'm breathing right now, and everyone else is like, I love air too. I don't know. We all have someone like that in our network. How do you tap into those digital influencers and delight them about your product such that they're talking about that to all of their friends? These are the very vocal people who are talking about you on Facebook and Twitter. So you definitely want to go out of your way if you see an influencer mentioning your brand, you want to make sure that you respond to them. Tip number 3, I would say, is to give your business a human face. This is something that I think we're just starting to see a lot of businesses do through Facebook. But for example, a great opportunity is to actually show a little behind the scenes, feature some of your own employees. Maybe it's anyone from the most junior level employee to the CEO of your company, but your fans would love to know, what does a day in life look like for these people at your company? What are they doing? What's going on behind the scenes as you plan a new product launch or you plan an event? You would be amazed to see just the kind of detail that people are interested in. For example, I was recently working with a big theater on the launch of a new show. And I recommended to them, why don't we just take some pictures of you guys loading the boxes in? I think it's pretty cool how you can drive a giant truck right up to the back of the theater and there's these truck gates. And they were like, no, that's boring. That's really silly. And those pictures got just thousands and thousands of likes and comments from people who were hungry for the behind-the-scenes information. So never underestimate the power of giving your business a really human face and showing what's going on behind the scenes. Tip number 4 is to really listen to what people are saying. There's a lot of insights out there that a lot of people aren't even taking advantage of. Facebook pages gives tremendous insights. You can see down to the city and zip code and specific languages that people are viewing your page in. Likewise, on Twitter, you can track words and key phrases and everything. So make sure, that you definitely have Google alerts and that you have active searches going every day on Facebook public search and on Twitter for your brand name. For example, if you are providing internet access, you should also search for phrases such as slow internet connection or internet connection, because then you can actually find people who are complaining about a competitive service and reach them and offer your own better, wonderful service to them. Again, Facebook Analytics provides very detailed information. They provide kind of the exact time of day that your posts get the most interaction. They even tell you when you're posting things that make people unsubscribe from your page, because that's very important information to know also. And recently, a week or 2 ago, they announced that they're working on a new feature called What People Are Saying. So they'll actually be able to tell you what people are most talking about on their page so that in your future posts you can address that. Definitely think about taking a look at the cities and the countries and the languages that people are viewing your page in. And I'll give you a story just to reflect that. I was working with a major Hollywood celebrity who suddenly realized when we looked at the insights on his Facebook page that 25% of his fans randomly lived in Buenos Aires. He had no idea. He had never really done anything in Argentina before. Why would all of his fans be there? But I said to him, maybe you should start posting some updates in Spanish. These people love you. He started posting every time he did an update in English. He also did one in Spanish. He did updates that were targeted just to Buenos Aires, and the engagement on his page doubled almost overnight. After that, he also made sure that every movie he was in, they held press junkets in Buenos Aires and premieres there. So I think that there's a lot that you can learn about who your audience is that you might not necessarily know. Just this weekend, actually, I was working with the estate of Michael Jackson on the launch of the new Cirque du Soleil show. And they never thought that Jakarta was a big audience for them. But when we looked at the insights on their Facebook page, there were 10 million fans in Jakarta. And because of that, they're actually exploring doing some things around the launch of his new album there. Number 5, I would say to make sure to be timely, relevant, lighthearted, funny, just really tie into the zeitgeist of what people are talking about. So, for example, the royal wedding was all the anything that anyone could talk about. The kind of tourist bureau of Love UK, they were posting really interesting and timely content about the wedding, and they actually gained 127,000 new people who liked their fans in a very short period of time without doing any advertising, just because of the very relevant information they were posting. But even more than that, their page was viewed by 1.3 million people, which I guess shows me an opportunity. That's both good and an opportunity for them, because maybe there are a few things they could have done differently, such that those 1.3 people, more of them converted into people who liked the page. This was something that someone forwarded to me yesterday. I think it was just posted. The Dutch Maritime Museum actually made a video, I guess, to my brother, saying that the Dutch actually invented social media and invented my brother. I'm not exactly 100% sure, but it was a very funny video about how they're kind of responsible for all of this, and henceforth you should go visit the Dutch Maritime Museum. So it's just very clever, very funny, and very engaging. Here's what I wanted to get to when I talked about managing your community before you need it. Because sometimes timely and relevant means that you're in a crisis situation. Now, let's backtrack to over a year ago when there was volcanic ash covering a lot of Europe and the flights were grounded. And you have all of these airlines who are handling the situation in very different ways, because people are getting grounded all over the world. They're angry. They can't get home to their families. People are stuck for a week. KLM was one of the airlines that I think did really well. Even though they were experiencing a lot of the same delays and of all the airlines, they were really updating people very well on Facebook. They had a flight tracker where you could track your loved ones and where they were in the world. And you could actually see the comments reflect that you have someone said that I'd really like to congratulate KLM on keeping us so informed. So people definitely, they see that and they react very positively. Just this week, Bank of America actually announced that just for having a Bank of America debit card, there was going to be a $5 fee every month. As you can imagine, consumers went up in arms about this. And Bank of America kind of went silent on social media. Now, I think that would have been a really big opportunity for them to get in front of the message and be engaging with the community, explaining why they did that. You know, for example, we're now used to paying fees for baggage on airlines. So maybe talking about, how we're just entering a world where there's more things that businesses need to do, and helping customers explain why they announce those fees instead of just announcing it at random. I can't stress how important this is to build your community before the crisis. I know that in a lot of businesses, social media might not be something that's prioritized because there's always something pressing that needs to be reacted to right now. There's always that fire to be put out right now. But building that community and taking the time to invest in it is going to help you do a better job of engaging other people when it's a crisis situation. Tip number 6 is to really embrace customer feedback. You may have heard the term crowdsourcing. Now, I believe that if you have thousands and thousands of people who like your brand and your business on Facebook, it significantly reduces the gamble that you have to take when you launch something, because along the way you should be able to put out polls and get customer feedback and really help people to craft a new product launch with you. If you're not in the position to do that, there's even ways that you can make your customers feel engaged without giving them any information or insight into your product. For example, Target actually engaged their customers in philanthropy. Target knew that they were going to be giving away $5 million over the calendar year, and they decided that, we're giving this money away anyway, and here are these 10 nonprofits that we give the money to. Let's let our Facebook fans help us allocate this money. So they put out the list of 10 and said, these are the 10 organizations we're donating to, help us choose. And the Facebook fans went on there and voted for all of the charities that they wanted. And at the end of the day, I think St. Jude's Children's Hospital got 50% of the vote. So they got 50% of the money. And so on and so forth. Every single organization on the list got some funding, but the Facebook fans helped allocate. It was also genius because it meant that St. Jude's Children's Hospital was out there driving people to Target's page to go vote. So they were engaging all of these other partnerships and platforms to help drive awareness. Similarly, we're seeing brands ranging from Pepsi to Pepsi Refresh program, to Chase, to Kohl's are all doing similar programs in order to engage fans on their page and what they're doing. I am going to give you a time, though, when this kind of backfired a little bit, because I think when you're talking about crowdsourcing, it's important to give people some guidelines. Target was smart. They didn't just say, submit any philanthropy that you have, so that people were like, I'm going to submit the buy Randy a Maserati philanthropy, and have you fund that. They gave very detailed guidelines. When Chevy released their new Tahoe car, which was a very big gas-guzzling car, they turned to Facebook and said, design us a commercial. But they didn't give any guidelines. And it was a really wonderful idea in theory, except what they got back was a ton of Greenpeace activists who made commercials with rainforests being cut down and trucks destroying the environment. So that's not what you want. That is not an example of good crowdsourcing. It's really important that when you do involve your customers, that you give them the guidelines and the boundaries that you want them to play within. Vitamin Water actually turned to their Facebook fans to help them create a new flavor of vitamin water. They named it Facebook Connect, and what they got was this kind of super caffeinated black cherry vitamin water. It was actually really gross, I'm not gonna lie. We had a whole refrigerator stocked with it at Facebook, and it was not the most popular, but I thought it was a very cool example of actually involving your customers in the product decision. Maybe next time it'll actually be a delicious drink that sticks around. Tip number 7, when we're talking about actually making money from social media. I know that is something that is on everyone's mind. How do you actually tap into the e-commerce opportunities that exist? We're seeing more and more businesses actually creating entire storefronts through Facebook. So 1-800-Flowers is a really great example. For over a year now, they've actually had a storefront right within Facebook, and they can tie into the Facebook APIs that tell you when it's someone's birthday, or when you should congratulate someone on an engagement or a wedding, and you can actually send them flowers directly from the site. So very smart in getting people right at that moment of purchase that they would want to do something. Likewise, Delta has actually created a ticket window right inside Facebook. They were seeing that they were kind of losing a lot of time between people being on the Delta site and then people going to Facebook to ask their friends where they should travel to. And they decided that they would actually experiment with putting a booking engine right inside their Facebook page. So this is something that actually just launched a few months ago, and you don't even have to leave the Facebook site at all to book a Delta flight now. Likewise, something that Facebook announced at the F8 conference, I think, is going to be another huge opportunity for e-commerce. Facebook announced that rather than just have the like button, there's going to actually be buttons around different actions that you can take. So you can actually have on a site, I want this item, or I already own this item, or I intend to buy this item at some time. And I think that really gives your friends a much stronger feedback about how you feel about a product. So rather than just seeing, Randi likes these 5 things, you can say, oh, wow, Randi already bought that, or she wants that for her upcoming birthday. And I think that drives a lot more possibilities in the e-commerce space. You can also do sampling. If you want a sample of Marmite, you can get that through Facebook. You can also get samples of beauty products. We're seeing a lot more and more of, kind of try this product out. And it's also brilliant because you get mailing addresses, you get email, you get all sorts of information that you don't necessarily get just from someone liking your page if they sign up to receive a sample. And then we're also seeing kind of real world and virtual ties together. I mentioned Zynga earlier today and their very popular game Farmville, which I don't know how many people in this audience have played. You don't have to raise your hand, but you know who you are. They partnered with 7-Eleven, and there was actually a Farmville flavor of ice cream and a Farmville Slurpee. And if you bought it, there was a code where you could kind of get some free enhanced virtual items through Farmville that you couldn't get anywhere else. So we're definitely seeing a lot more experimentation in this space. A lot more people are focused on ROI and driving sales and product. We're seeing a lot of that in the entertainment space too. Warner Brothers actually streamed The Dark Knight in entirety through Facebook. And I think we're going to be seeing more and more of that, where you can actually pay or subscribe to different models of getting content through social media. Tip number 8 is to think about using this as an additional customer service channel. Now, I know that it's hard because we're already all strapped for resources in our business. So it's easy for me to say, add someone to monitor Facebook and Twitter. But I think this is a really important channel because people are talking about your business there and you want to be involved in the conversation. So for example, Whole Foods Market, a very popular organic grocery store chain in the US, actually staffs their Twitter account, and they will actually say kind of the hours that, if you tweet something, someone will get back to you within a certain time window. Or you'll see a lot of on Facebook pages, people will say, I couldn't get these boots, or your site was down, or I'm frustrated about this. And the best brands with the best customer support will be right there apologizing or thanking or offering some kind of a make good on the item. Social media, again, can be interesting because just like in real life, the squeaky wheel gets noticed. People who tend to complain the loudest get noticed. And so I also want to touch on that because as we're all innovating together in this space, I think it's important to understand that there's a fine line that you walk between looking at those customers that have digital megaphones that are saying like, Delta Airlines screwed me again, but also making sure that we don't create a culture in the world where people feel like any time an experience is not 100% perfect, that they should just immediately whine to hundreds of thousands of people online about it. I haven't figured out the exact answer to that yet, but I think that's something that's going to be more and more important for all of us in this room to figure out together as we move forward. I do feel bad for the airline industry a lot. I think they get the raw deal because you always see people on there saying like, lost my bags again or did this, but you rarely see people turn to social media to say like I had a neutral flight. It was good. I got to where I wanted to go. So again, I think it's really easy for people to complain about things, and we need to figure out when to address those and when to kind of not reward that behavior. Again, here's kind of some examples of how different companies are handling that. Someone turned and said, Pacific Blue equals fail. And Pacific Blue Airlines goes, now, Lloyd, why would you say something like that? That kind of hurts our feelings. But likewise, for every person that's saying something a little mean about your business, my thought is that those people are an inch away from loving you, because they're not going to take the time to post something mean unless they're really passionate about your brand. So if you can just invest just that little extra something, you should be able to turn them into a lifetime supporter of your brand. Tip number 9, I talked about this a little bit before when I suggested featuring some of your employees, but showing people, again, kind of raising the curtain and showing what's going on behind the scenes. This is one of my favorite examples. So one thing that I really miss about working at Facebook is the amazing free food that they give out. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, all 3 meals are free. They have gourmet chefs. It's just amazing. And they have a Facebook page where the chefs post the menu about 10 minutes before the cafe opens. They post the menu. So you can imagine that when I was working there, this was the page that I was checking probably 1,000 times a day. Just refresh, 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 refresh. What's for lunch? What's for dinner? And what's funny is I noticed one day that even though there was only about 2,000 Facebook employees, there was 12,000 fans of that page. So there were 10,000 people who had nothing to do with the company, who just wanted to see what we were eating. And after I saw that, I was like, I aspire to run a Facebook page one day that's that engaging, that people who have nothing to gain from my service and doesn't have anything to do with them whatsoever, still are that engaged checking the page. So if any of you are curious as to what Facebook employees are going to be eating today, you too can become a fan of the Facebook culinary team. I thought this was maybe a bit too much behind the scenes info. A woman has chosen to live stream her natural birth. Yeah, I think there is such a thing as a little too much behind the scenes. That was all the only point I wanted to make from that. But I do think that live streaming as a whole is an incredible thing to try. I'm really glad that we're live streaming this event today, because that's something that I'm very passionate about. I think that more and more people want to feel like they're there at the event, even if they can't be there physically. And I think we're going to be seeing that live streaming video as more and more of a trend as we look forward into the next year. Here is an example of the Ritz-Carlton in Toronto actually live stream the opening. So in addition to taking questions from local media, they actually took questions from press and from Ritz-Carlton customers all over the world. We also saw even everyone ranging from the United Nations hosting town halls through Facebook. So I recently participated in such a town hall where we took questions both from people in the room, but I also had an iPad on my lap, and I was looking at questions that were streaming in from people all over the world through Facebook and Twitter. It was a pretty cool experience to be able to answer questions both from someone sitting in the front row and also someone as far away as Africa. And my final tip, although I have hundreds of tips, so it's hard to put it into 10, is to really make sure you're integrating an incredible mobile experience. We're seeing more and more people who are using Facebook on their mobile phone are more than twice as engaged as people who are using it on the website. Mobile is permeating every area of our lives, disrupting every single area of our lives. But it's very important as you're thinking about your mobile strategy is to not just take your website and put it onto mobile. Figure out exactly the use case that people want. For example, if you're a restaurant, maybe I'm looking up the different things like the menu when I'm online, but when I'm on my mobile, I want to know how I'm going to book a table right now at the restaurant and how I'm going to change my reservation or how I'm going to do things that are going to make my life easier. QR codes, I think, are something interesting that's becoming more and more of a trend. Diesel actually did something where if you like their jeans on Facebook and you scan in, that you can actually get a discount in the stores, which I thought was pretty cool. And this is one of my favorite apps, the Starbucks mobile card app. I can't tell you how many times I had a Starbucks card that vanished in the bottom of my purse, and now I can just take my iPhone and scan it at the cash register, and it stores all of my cards at once, and I never have to have money with me ever again when I go to a Starbucks. So I think that's very innovative, and I think we're going to be continuing to see a lot more, but I definitely encourage everyone here to think about geolocation services like Foursquare, like Facebook Places, how you can be offering special mobile deals, how you can actually find people when they're right in front of your store because they're checking in there, and offer them a reason to come in. And I definitely wanted to touch on a few social media don'ts. I hate, actually, now that I'm a mom, I hate using the word no or don't. So I really should have positioned these as opportunities. But a few things, try to make sure that you're not just using an RSS feed of content into social media. Try to make sure that you're actually posting kind of authentic, engaging content. Also, a lot of businesses tend to just make the image on their Facebook page your logo. I understand why you're tempted to do that. That's your brand. You probably have a gorgeous logo. But you should also remember that 99% of your customers are not going to your Facebook page. They're seeing your updates in their news feed. And your updates are competing with, my baby photos of Asher and someone's wedding photos. And in order to get noticed in those teeny pixels that you have, it always plays out better if your image is colorful or uses faces or shows something in action rather than just a logo. Definitely be careful of being overly promotional. You want to balance, having every post be about discounts and buying things, match that with content that's, conversational also. And number 4, something I call like gating. That refers to when you force people to like your page before they can see the content on it. I have mixed feelings. A lot of agencies do this because, yes, it will get you more likes at the end of the day. But I equate it to, what if you walked in front of a store and you saw, it looked really beautiful from the outside, from the windows, and you went to open the door and they said, I'm sorry, you have to commit to spending $50 in the store before you can even walk in the door. I would be like, bye-bye, and walk away. What I would prefer to do is go in and browse and see how beautiful the items are and then get lured in to buy. So I think you have to assume that if you force someone to like your content before they can even see it, that you might get more likes at the end of the day, but you'll also lose a lot of potential customers who will just walk. So I also want to talk about fostering innovation inside the company. I know I'm kind of coming up on the end of my time, but something that I was really passionate about at Facebook and that the company did so well was keeping the spirit of a startup alive. Even I was in the top 10 employees that started, and even at 2,000 employees, they still felt like a startup. And there were a few things that they did that I think you could really bring back to your business. There was really this sense that a good idea could come from anywhere. It wasn't just the management team that could have a good idea. It was the fact that even a summer intern could have an idea that actually became a product on the site. They did every month something called a hackathon, where people stayed up all night long and they had great food and DJs, and the only requirement was that you work on something completely unrelated to your day job. So you could kind of dream up something that you always wanted to work on, and there were exciting things that came out of that. Facebook chat came out of that, Facebook video, a lot of updates that you see on the site today. We also had things come out of it like partnerships with the Red Cross for disaster relief, because people were passionate about figuring out how to use social media around earthquakes. There were things that came out around the election. So there's a lot that you can do when you leave your employees to be creative. Encourage experimentation and adopt a kind of a yes culture. I can't tell you how many brainstorms I have sat in on where I threw an idea out there and someone said, no, we can't do that, and it just literally killed the meeting. So what I always tried to do is adopt a culture of my team where you're not allowed to say no or shoot down someone's idea in a brainstorm. You have to adopt the kind of improvisation technique of saying yes and. You have to actually take that idea and tweak it or twist it to find what might be a gem or a diamond in the rough of their idea. We also did forums where anyone could get up in front of the entire company and present ideas. And finally, they did every week a weekly all-staff Q&A where they encouraged people to submit questions in advance or actually get up and talk. So they really fostered this culture of open communication and kind of startup-like access where everyone felt like they really knew what was going on in the company at all times. And here's a synopsis of everything that we talked about, but in my final few moments, I know today I talked a lot about what you should do as a business, what you should do to get customers and increase engagement and drive ROI. When I was at Facebook, though, a lot of what I focused on, too, was Facebook's philanthropic activities. I focused on current events, breaking events in the world. And I wanted to end on a note of showing that social media, even though it's going to be incredibly impactful for your business, it's also incredibly impactful for the world. Just last week, you saw the Israeli Prime Minister reaching out an olive branch to Palestinian officials through Twitter, saying, we're in the same city for the UN General Assembly. Let's meet here. I extend my hand in peace. You see people like a Saudi princess and activists who are talking about allowing women to drive in Saudi Arabia. You see people in Egypt who are gathering together using tools to protest. And a project that I worked on at Facebook called peace.facebook.com, we were tracking in a 24-hour window unlikely friendships on Facebook. How many people in India, Pakistan become friends in 24 hours? How many people in Israel and Palestine become friends in a 24-hour period? So that's just the message I wanted to leave you on. There was a reporter in America named Malcolm Gladwell who did a huge op-ed talking about how social media didn't matter. It was all about weak ties. And that really didn't lead to anything. But for me, when I look at the impact on business, the impact on the world, everything that's going on in the Arab Spring, everything that's happening as you gear up towards your election in this country, I think all the evidence to me points to strong ties and the fact that we can't ignore social media in business or in innovation. So thank you so much to everyone, and I know I'll be back later in the day for some Q&A.